What's up, everyone? Alright, so this video is going to be on removing the factory bumpers and swapping them out, replacing them with some off-road style, more aggressive bumpers. Now, I didn't go too extreme. I just wanted something with a little bit more style and performance. So it's another step of removing the chrome too, because I've been working on chrome delete. If any of you have been following me from the beginning, I'm continuing to try to get all the chrome off this truck. It's come a long way. But I will be going through removing this bumper and removing the chrome rear bumper. And I'll be swapping them out with more aggressive style, off-road style bumpers. So the first step of removing the front bumper is take a plastic removal tool. You don't want it to be metal because you don't want to scratch or damage anything. And then you get it in between here and you pry it off. So once you get it started, use your bigger tool, and then from there you can just pull the clips out. Just like that. Alright, once you get your clip out, then you can access these two bolts and the nuts right there. We'll loosen those up, and then we'll get the ones from the back and also unhook the fog lights if you have fog lights on yours. Next, we're going to disconnect the fog light connection. And it's pretty simple. You just pull this tab, slide it off, and we're going to disconnect this one. Okay, so now that we have that disconnected, unless the harness ties into the bumper somewhere where it's just one clip attaching it, that should be it as far as things that need to be disconnected. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this nut, which you can see right there, this nut here, and once we remove those two, then we will remove these two here in the front behind where the caps were, and these two. When you get these all the way to the end, make sure you're supporting the bumper before you actually pull them all the way off. I decided to loosen the two on each side in the front first, and these are either a 21 or a 13/16, depending on what you have as far as a deep socket. So popping them in here and just gonna loosen these up till I get them to this stage where I can just hand loosen and tighten the rest of it. And I will leave these on just a little bit, so when I take off the back, this bumper won't come off. Then I can come back to the front and just edge these off while I'm holding the bumper and remove it. All right, so I got this one loose. Finish the last little part of it. Okay, now just do the last side, and then we should be ready to get in the front, loosen those nuts and bolts, and take it off. All right, guys, so you can see the bumper's loose now, and now all that's left is to take these and these off, and I'll hold the bumper while I do it, and then just pull it off. All right, guys, one last thing. So the bumper's off. It's pretty easy. It's not too heavy. It's able to hold it and remove those bolts and nuts and pull it off. But one last thing that I didn't know until I started pulling it off, there's these little plastic inserts right here that attach it to the bumper as well. So once I had the bumper off, I had to hold it while I pop these out real quick. So just make sure you check that line and that they're removed so you don't have to struggle with it while you're pulling it off. But that's it. Here's the bumper, and here's where it mounts. And now we're ready to remove the back bumper, and we're ready to install the replacement bumpers. All right, so just doing a quick little test fit. All I do is just slide this on and just start to tighten these nuts on the bolts just enough that it will hold it in place, because I wanted to make sure that this is all going to fit, including this additional piece, before I send it to powder coat. Obviously you don't want to paint something and pay to paint something if it is actually not going to work. So this was just to make sure, test fit wise, that everything looks good, which when I use two hands, I even hold it up a little bit more. I could take the time to fully tighten it on and maybe I will, maybe I won't, but just wanted to show you the progress. Now once this is actually powder coated, I will show you connecting the whole thing. Alright guys, so now it's time to remove the rear bumper. So we'll walk through this process as well, just like we did for the front. First thing you're going to do is when you get underneath it, you're going to see that you have some sensors plugged in. So we got to plug in here and here. You've also got your electrical here, and you got these couple sensors over here. So depending on your configuration and what sensors you have, you'll just want to unhook any wiring that's actually connected by loom to your actual bumper that's going to come off. Just want to unhook all that, so we'll do that next. And then once we do that, we can work on removing these bolts, these nuts from these bolts that actually hold the bumper on. So first, I'm going to get this disconnected. Alright guys, so now the harness is disconnected. So it's pretty straightforward. Just go through and find all the connections and squeeze the little tabs, slide them out. The bulb here, this one just turns on. It just twists on, and then all the rest have the little push tabs that you just push and you just slide off the caps, and then just unhook all the little plastic inserts that hold it into place. And once this is free of the bumper, now all we have to do is remove these 3 nuts and bolts and these 3. And once we do that, then the bumper will be ready to be removed from the vehicle. And once we do that, then it's ready to switch the trim pieces out. Alright, so I've got these loosened on this side, and I also loosened them over there. So now you can see the bumper actually moves, and it's ready to just complete loosening and removing these and sliding it off. So I remove all but 1 on each side and have it almost all the way out, and then I'll just hold up the bumper while I remove the last ones, and then take this off. Easy enough to pull off. So that's where it came off of, and then I just carried it over, set it down here, and then I'll be setting it on the table right here so I can start taking it apart to try these different end caps before I send it to powder coat. Alright guys, so here's the replacement bumpers that I'll be installing. So this bumper I got for under $300, and it's I'm not even sure of the brand, but it's a good solid steel front bumper. It's a 3-piece, so these 2 end pieces hook onto it with a bracket, some nuts and bolts. I already sized it and made sure that it does fit before I have it powder coated. And these are actual factory Raptor bumper caps for the rear. Now these should go in place of the stock bumper caps for the F150. So as you can see right now, I have the chrome, and what I will be doing is replacing these caps. These come off separately. I did a video on this already where I've taken the caps apart, the bumper top apart, but these caps should mount onto this bumper, giving me a more aggressive and stylish rear end. So this is the Raptor style because it's obviously original equipment manufacturer Raptor bumpers, caps anyways, that go onto this. And then this front is going to replace this front chrome bumper here. So when it's all done and said, I'll have a better approach angle, a better stylish look and performance, similar to a Raptor, but again, I'm not doing exactly what a Raptor is. I'm going to powder coat these black to go with my black and white themed truck instead of leaving it this traditional gray that the Raptors usually have, because I'm not trying to pretend to be a Raptor, but honestly Raptors are known for having a great look and appearance and performing well, so why not get inspiration from them to make my truck everything I want it to be. So once I get these powder coated, they'll be ready to be installed. All that's left is to make sure that these back pieces do fit on this bumper, so I'm going to do that next. before I have it all powder coated, and I'll be back. By the way, guys, in keeping these costs down, so it's a cost-effective DIY project, I actually got these bumper caps that are the Raptor for $100. I got them on eBay, and as you can see, there's some scratches on these, but the shape of them as far as bends or dents or anything is good. So that's all I needed, since I am going to powder coat this anyways. So for $100 for these, it might have been $125, I'd have to look now. But for that, and then under $300 for the front bumpers, I'm doing the front and the back for $425 plus the cost of actual powder coating to the exact color and texture that I want. So after a few $100s for that, all done and said, you're getting a front and rear bumper swap for under $1,000, closer towards about $750 or so. Alright guys, so this is what your rear bumper looks like. Now, what you can see is it's actually 3 or 4 main pieces. You've got the body, which is where it mounts up with these brackets. You've got this top cap, which connects right here to these panels, and you can see here's all the clips to take off the top cap. And then once you do that, then these panels can be disconnected with some bolts, and then that's how I'll switch them to these. So I have a video that you can look at that actually shows breaking this all apart, so I'm just going to skim through that, get it done real quick so I can take a look, make sure that these will bolt on, and I know I'm good to get them all powder coated for continuing on with the install. Alright guys, so doing the test fit, as you can see, the Raptor bumpers hook right on to the factory bumper. The only difference between them is they have this additional bracket which comes down here instead of a separate bracket that's on that. I'll show you from the back. So over here you can see that these F150 regular body trim style bumper caps have this actual bar right here that connects between the two, and then you can see all the other mounting points. Over here you have these same mounting points. Of course there's one right there too. Over here you have the same mounting points here, 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 but you don't have that part that comes down here or that bar. You just have a spot right here because of this bracket that comes down. This bracket being this bracket right here. So whenever you get your Raptor bumper caps, you need to make sure that it comes with this bracket, which will allow you to hook up to this bottom one to make sure the whole thing's fully supported. Alright, as we can see, they all line up just as they did with the original XLT bumper cap on this side. So these all line up. Looks like we're going to be good to go, because that's the only thing we're changing is this one cap on each side. All the rest stays the same. So it's the same factory installation as they'd use on the Raptor. It fits right in, so I'll come back as soon as I've received these parts back from powder coating and show you putting it back together, putting this front bumper together and mounting them all back up, reconnecting. And I'll give you a final look of what it looks like when I'm done. Alright guys, so let me show you briefly how you remove the sensor from the actual bumper cap, since we're swapping those out with these new caps. The way you do it is you pull apart these two tabs. And you want to be careful, you don't want to break these. So I'm just trying to work it here. There we go. And you can see when you pull these two edges apart, it allows this piece to come up. And it has like a little gasket on it as well. And so there's your actual sensor. And then from there, this part comes off very easily. So you just squeeze these tabs together and you push it out the other way. And that will take that part out. So it's two pieces to take it out, be gentle with it, you don't want to break the sensor. And then this will just go into the replacement bumper caps once I get them back from powder coat and reinstall everything. Alright guys, so my bumpers are back from powder coat and I think they look really good. I'm happy with the color choice. So now it's time to put this 3-piece bumper together. It comes with a bag full of parts and no directions. That's no big deal, we just figure it out, but this should be helpful to those who are thinking about doing this and have never put one together, like I haven't. So what I did is I separated all the parts into 2 sides to make it easier to figure out what would go to what, and in doing so I see that I've got 3 and 2 here, and then these bigger ones, those go with those, and these would go with these smaller ones, it looks like. And same on the other side. So I know each side is only going to have this much to use. And then when I take a look at this, I see that there's 3 holes here and there's 3 holes here, so this lines up with that. And since there's only 3 of these and there's only 2 of those, these 3 must go to here. And then I'm assuming that these 2 are actually going to be used, so this bracket that runs in here for support like this, so this bracket sits here and there's 1 screw there and 1 here which goes here. So my assumption is that's going to be these ones because there's 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and get this hooked on here with these, and then I will put this bracket on here and put those 2 on and see how that works. Alright guys, bumpers assembled for the front. We're ready to mount it up. One other tip of what I did before mounting it is I just kind of held it in place, and I could see that the bumper sticks a little bit higher than this plastic that comes down. So what I did is I just took my Sawzall and I just went straight across and cut a little bit of this plastic off. That way when the bumper is installed, this will tuck up right behind it and it won't stick down below it. Now with that said, next I just need to mount this up to the same mounting bolts as before and tighten it down, and then I can go ahead and I'm gonna run some fog lights eventually. I'll probably fill in these spaces, more than likely. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll have to decide on that, but until then I'll just take these and zip tie them up somewhere so they're out of the way, and time to just mount this bumper up. Alright guys, before I install, one last thing I wanted to show you is ultimately how it looks with the hardware and the pieces installed. So here's the center part of the bumper, and then I've got these 3 here with a flat washer and a lock washer, and these with a lock washer. I put a couple extra ones so it wouldn't stick through too far, even though I don't think it would, but it only needs to go into the actual nut that's welded on there. So, and then there's the last one holding that one on. So that's the hardware holding it on there and there. Alright guys, so front bumper is now on. You can see where I cut these, that they're now not below the bumper itself. I'll give you a look around on this other side. So it's looking pretty good. So when you tighten this bumper up, you're going to hold and support and make sure you have it up, and you tighten just one of these on each side, and then loosen a little bit, wiggle it up, that way you can line up the bumper, because you want the bumper to be nice and straight and lined up and just a nice snug fit. So now that that's done, in the future, like I think I mentioned before in this video, I'll probably go with some fog lights here to fill up this space. But that, or I'll do some kind of mesh to tie it in if I don't want to do fog lights, but I'll probably do fog lights. But in the interim, I don't have the fog lights hooked up, so I'm going to take these cords and just stick them up somewhere, wrap them up, that way they don't hang down. And then I'll put this front trim piece back on. You want to make sure you have all your clips still, and then I'll snap that into place, and the front will be done until I do some additional modifications. Alright guys, thought I'd quickly show you what I did with the fog light connectors for now until I get some additional lights hooked up. Is I just ran it through and around and then zip tied it where these are facing down. That way, I mean, it's not really going to get too wet, but if it does, it's facing downward, so the water will just drip out and it's snug and out of the way. Same thing on this side. As you can see, I just wrapped it through around to the top and around and then zip tied it. You don't have to zip tie it tight, just kind of loose, just so it's just holds it there but it doesn't damage anything. Alright guys, so that's the front. I put the cap back on, this front grille plastic, and as you can see now, it's all done. Minus maybe some future improvements like we were talking about, but that's how you do the front. Now it's time to work on the back. Alright guys, I got one Raptor end cap, which is the replacement that I'm swapping out for my factory chrome ones on this XLT, and let me show you kind of how that works. So it was a chrome piece that was here, and it's a lot more bulky and boxy. I'm obviously getting rid of chrome, but there's not much difference between the Raptor and the XLT trim. The biggest thing that you need to make sure is when you get the Raptor end caps that you also get with them these brackets. So this is for the other side, and you can see that that bracket is right here installed. And so what that does is that mounts up basically all the mounting holes. So you can see these two are these two, and then this hole right here is that one. And if you look over here, you can see we've got 1, 2 here, and we've got, the way that that works is this bracket provides connections to here, even though this doesn't extend out, because we don't have to use that connector rod on this one. Instead, it's got this, which actually, see how these have these tabs underneath? So this here connects underneath it there to provide the support. Therefore, you've got a connection under here to that, to this bracket here, and then you connect it down there like you would have on this one. And that allows you to put on the Raptor end cap on the factory XLT bumper. Alright, so I'm going to be putting on this other side here, and then it'd be time to button this one back up. If you want to see more in depth how to take apart the actual rear bumper and the 3 main components of it all, then I have another video that you can take a look at. It's in this playlist, the F150 playlist, and that will give you more information on how to do that. But since I already have that video in place, I'm going to go right on to putting the other side in. I just wanted to give you a quick recap of the difference of the XLT and the Raptor style bumper and how it will work in its place. So let me finish getting this put back together, and then I'll show you installing it back on the truck. Guys, so the rear bumper is put back together. I think it looks good. And I put the sensors back in to the end panels here. So now it's time to get this hooked up to the truck, and then I'll get some wiring plugged back in. And I'm going to find out, I may need to actually extend the wires that go to these outside sensors, because they're a couple inches out further than the factory XLT ones are. Now you can buy a replacement harness. You're not really supposed to, for DOT regulations, I don't know if you're supposed to splice the wires or not, but I'm going to go ahead and extend these wires if need be to make it fit. But first, let's get this bumper up. Alright, so the back bumper is now hooked onto the truck. As you can see, I can now move my exhaust pipes, and it should be a little bit interesting. This one's got to come up some and even out a little bit. And on this side, same thing, out just a little bit, but it's got to come up some. And then I got to hook my wires up, and I will see if they'll reach, or if I'm going to have to do something about them not quite reaching these further outside sensors. So. Alright guys, so I did need to extend one line, one wire set. So I used some automotive wire This wire is pretty thin, so I even doubled over the end where I crimped it, but I crimped and then I put some heat shrink and then I put the loom back on, and the spots where it wasn't loom I used extra tape and I just taped all around it, so I'm all good to go. I'm going to hook this back on and I'll show you a final look. Alright guys, that's it. So the front and the bumper have been completely swapped out for custom upgraded bumpers, and next project will be adjusting my exhaust a little bit, and I'll probably do a new project to blacken those tips out just to go with the current theme. And then I got to do something with these running boards. Obviously I'm still working on the chrome deletes, but those are some of the last things, those and the fender badges. But you can see I think it came out really good. I like it. Got to get some fog lights probably in there, or some kind of mesh backing on these two sides. But that's it. Oh, this truck's come a long way. I hope you guys found this video informative. I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.